Hello there. Yesterday I started talking about a teaching called the 6 Paramitas, and it's the activities of the Bodhisattva, the one who seeks enlightenment, not just for self but for all living beings. So these paramitas are the equivalent, you could say, of the precepts that we have and that are come out of the Theravada tradition. So these paramitas obviously come out of the Mahayana tradition. So yesterday I looked at the first two, which were generosity and, the second one you can call discipline, morality, self-discipline, natural morality. So the third one is patience or forbearance or tolerance. So in these verses, that are very strong verses because basically they reflect the activity of the Bodhisattva. In other words, somebody who is already enlightened, which clearly we're not. So this verse says, "For a Bodhisattva who desires the joy of virtue, all who harm him are like a precious treasure. Therefore, to cultivate patience towards all without resentment is the way that the Bodhisattva practices." This is strong stuff, isn't it? Patience. And I know that when I am impatient, when I'm intolerant, it's usually because I'm very frustrated. And that happens in all sorts of ways. We've got to know ourselves quite well, haven't we, to know how intolerance crops up. So, for example, I tend to think on my feet. I tend to have quite a fast mind, and other people don't always have that. They have a mind that likes to think things through. Maybe they're more thorough than I am. Maybe they're more thoughtful. I don't know. It's just a different way of operating, and I can get really frustrated if people, don't know their own mind, if they don't come up with something quite quickly, maybe an answer. And I can feel that intolerance. So a good starting point, I think, when we're feeling at that lack of patience is to just focus on our bodily sensations and know how that feels. So some years ago, quite a lot of years ago, I used to be in some meetings where we used to have to make decisions. It was a council. And there were a lot of people in that council that like to really take their time and talk through things again and again and to the very depths. I'm sure that was very useful, but I used to feel so impatient. I just wanted us to get on. I'd look at my watch, I would think about all the things that were on the agenda that we weren't going to get through. And what it did is, in a way, it made me not really take those other people that wanted to be very slow. Maybe they had a very slow way of talking that I found difficult as well, but it meant that I didn't really listen. I stopped really listening properly because I was concerned with us getting on. And I used to end up with a headache. And for a while I used to think, maybe it's a bit stuffy in that room. Why do I end up with a headache? And then I had a light bulb moment when I realised that actually it's my own intolerance. It's my negative states of mind that are bringing this feeling of total frustration and impatience and intolerance. And so I made a point at the next meetings of just focusing inside my body to notice what was happening. And I could feel a physical tightness happening around my chest and belly. I could feel a strain in my brain, in my head. And I started to lean back and let go. To just let go and to really listen to what others were saying. And also to just accept that, my view and my opinion was just mine. It was just another one to be considered. It didn't have any more validity. It didn't have any more weight. So that relaxation really helped. and I felt like I'd really seen through something. Now, I'm not pretending I've cracked it, but actually it did help a lot. So fast forward to not very long ago, actually, and I witnessed intolerance. You know, when somebody else is intolerant with us, it's very difficult, isn't it? And it was an interesting situation. So I was driving along, and there was a man driving behind me, and we came to a roundabout, and that roundabout had an option both in the left lane and the right lane for going straight ahead. So I was in the right lane and started going round the roundabout, and I was going straight ahead, and so was the man behind me. So I slowed down. I could see he was a bit anxious to get on. So I thought, let him go. So I let him in front of me, indicated, and now I'm behind him. So anyway, a few yards on, he stopped his car. I thought maybe he had a problem with the car or something. He got out of the car, red-faced, and I wound down the window to talk to him because I thought, well, he must have something to say. And he absolutely raged at me. He called me a terrible driver. He said I shouldn't have been in that lane. And normally, I think in the past, my reaction would have been to tell him to go back and look at the arrows coming up to that roundabout. But I didn't. I just looked at him and I just felt really sorry for him. He was in a terrible state, about to give himself a heart attack. And all because he'd obviously made loads of assumptions, but he was just completely impatient, intolerant, and beside himself. And it was so bizarre that I actually didn't get angry. I might have done another time, but I didn't. And I just thought, oh, poor man. But then I thought, oh God, mate, I'm sure those are the markings. Anyway, I looked the next time and they are, it was quite clear. But yes, it was I looked and I thought this is a reflection of myself as well, looking at him when I'm beside myself with intolerance and so on. So frustration, impatience, intolerance just leads to a lot of anger. Now, forbearance, which is another word for impatience, for another word for patience, rather, forbearance, patient forbearance, is something that whether we like it or not, we have to practice. We don't have a choice about it because from the moment we're born, things are not always going to go our way. And we can make ourselves literally ill. We can give ourselves heart attacks and strokes by tension, by not knowing how to relax into how things are. And I'm sure none of us want to do that. It's not easy, but we have to see that the world doesn't always cooperate with how we want it to be. So yeah, this isn't easy. It's not an easy practice. We have to cultivate patience towards all without resentment. And that's the key, without resentment. Without feeling we've got to bite our lip in order to cope with it. It's a bit like just seeing that actually we cannot be in charge. We cannot control everything. And just notice when frustration arises and bring attention to the body. Relax. Listen more deeply. See how things are from the other side. So I'm going to leave it there for today. Bye-bye.